Hello and welcome to today's news on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogushaki. Welcome to the month of November. Nigerians woke up to a sad the family of Davido, that's Nigerian singer, and they've been thrown into mourning following the death of his son Ifeanyi Adeleke. Of course, so many celebrities have also sent their condolences to the family, and of course, we just hope they are able, to overcome these difficult times. And let's move straight to the front pages of the dailies this morning. I'm starting with Vanguard. Vanguard this morning is leading with United Kingdom, United States terror alert unneeded. Situation not so bad. That's coming from NSA. Says citizen not in danger. Situation under control. As CDS confirms killing of terrorists who invaded Wawa cantonment in Niger. Traffic jam at NAS as Operation Stop and Search commences. Nigeria must not become another Afghanistan, said Senator Uwabua once. You can see that story on page 5. Here we have a photo story with a writer that says from Governors Seyi Makinde of Oyo, Samuel Autumn of Benue, Yesom Wike of Rivers, Okeke Pazu, and Ifeanyi of Enugu State shortly after a meeting in Ibadan, Oyo State on Sunday. On page 4, we have gas flaring. Federal government targets $1 billion revenue from sale of 50 gas clusters. That's according to investigation. On page 12, we have, despite challenges, Buhari liberated more Nigerians from poverty. That's coming from federal government. 2023 polls. You should remain politically neutral, Buhari tells police. Obi disowns Labour Party's manifesto in circulation, says it's not approved. On page 12, we have Mieti Allah accuses Autumn of criminal profiling of members, demands investigation. Terrorists kidnap 10 in Zamfara, demand 20 million naira ransom. You can see that on page 6. Stories above on page 14. On the big interview, we've transformed Nigeria, tackled insecurity, empowered Nigerians. That's coming from Attorney General of the Federation, Malami. Fitch poll, others fake, will spring surprise in 2023, says NNPP. Energy transition, federal government seeks global support for Nigeria's $1.9 trillion plan. 2023, PDP will win all elections in Rivers, Atiku's victory uncertain. That's coming from Wiki. You can see that on page 9. Credit to economy rises 34% to 63.3 trillion naira. You can see that story on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. And that's all we have there. Away from there, we'll move to the Punch newspaper. The Punch this morning is leading with terror alert. Federal government reassures Nigerians, pushes back against United States and United Kingdom. Foreign minister to warn ambassadors against alarming advisories. Terror alert irresponsible. Go about normal businesses. That's according to security chiefs. Trasco Hotel set a new security protocol. Federal Capital Territory Police meet hotel operators. You can see that on page 2. Here we have 3 photo stories with the writer that says commuters stranded at Lagos commercial drivers protest extortion. You can see that on pages 4 and 5. Still on pages 4 and 5, we have Lagos Ibadan highway kidnappers killed captive over ransoms, collected at 3.2 million naira from my father. That's according to a lady. Marketers protest 185 naira per litre full and threatening strike. You can see that on page 20. Stories above, we have IOC's polluting Nigeria must face sanctions. That's coming from federal government. Lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have Naira devaluation will worsen Nigeria's food energy crisis. That's according to World Bank. And of course, that's all we have on the Punch newspaper. Away from that, we'll move to The Guardian. And The Guardian this morning is leading with dollar scarcity worsens as banks ration withdrawals. BDC stretched. We can't give what we don't have, banks tell customers. iCash holders mop up black markets, push Naira to highway. BDC dealers at Eco Hotel trade over 2 billion naira on Friday. Finance Ministry boils over Cold War between CBN Minister. UBA, alternative fiscal monetary coordinating structure required. CBN Acts need to specify working relationship between two offices. You can see that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Save Nigeria from global scandal, probe oil theft, ex-diplomat tells Buhari. You can see that on page 6 also. As Buhari chats out again, Huriwa stresses need for LD leader in 2023. And stories above, we have Anglican Archbishop of Lagos Province, Olumakaye, dies at 53. And lastly, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we have Akintoye accuses Tinubu of planning to destroy Yoruba self-determination group. You can see that on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Away from there, we move to the Nation newspaper. The Nation this morning is leading with Tinubu. Adebayo stand under fire over Southwestern. Is on his own, says YCE General Secretary. Fashoranti remains a Afenifere leader. You can see that on page 4 of the Nation. Federal government dismisses US and UK terror alert on Abuja. How Lekki Port will boost economy by Sanwo-Olu. Stories above, we have gunmen kidnap 4 travelers in Ekiti. Freed ex-UIDVC. I was shot in the head. You can see that on page 5. No decision yet on who to vote as president, says Wike. Stories above, we have INEC 222,538 new PVCs yet to be collected in Lagos. You can see that on page 27. And lastly, on the front page of the Nation newspaper, we have ensure credible polls. Buhari tells police. You can see that on page 28 of the Nation newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of dailies this morning. Join us after the break. Alright, welcome back if you're just joining us. This is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I'm Damilola Ogunshaki. Joining me to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Mr. Dayo Akintobi. He is the publisher of Ilukpeju Today, Lekki Today, and the Ikeja GRA Today. Good morning, Mr. Dayo.
Good morning, Damilola. Good morning to all our viewers.
Yes, and happy new month. Welcome to November.
Same to you. Thank you.
All right, this morning, Nigerians woke up to a very sad news, and that's the death of Davido and Chioma's son, Ifeanyi Adeleke. And according to rumors, he died in a swimming pool. What do you think about this? I mean, this is not the first time we're hearing a celebrity's child died in the pool.
Well, it's really awful that any parent would have to go through the nightmare of having to bury a child. And, of course, it's even worse for celebrities because they're in the public glare. But our hearts go out to the Adeleke family, and our thoughts and prayers are with them at what must be a very difficult time. It's unfathomable to imagine the kind of anguish and pain that any parent would feel to find themselves in that kind of circumstance, especially as tragic as it is. And having said that, even though we don't know the circumstances of how this happened, it goes to further send a note of warning to parents, to wards, to school teachers that we need to pay more attention to our young ones. I don't know. I mean, we can't ascribe blame to anybody in this situation because we don't know what happened. But the bottom line is a child has passed away from a tragic accident, probably in a swimming pool as a result of drowning. One way or another, either way you look at it, there's negligence somewhere on the part of some adult. Whether perhaps children should not even be allowed in at least unattended in swimming. We don't really recognize how dangerous water can be. Sometimes we have a tendency to be a bit lackadaisical about water, not knowing that it can become very dangerous very quickly if not properly monitored. And that's why in public pools, you find lifeguards always on duty. You find trainers who are there teaching people how to swim. But in private pools, as I can imagine this probably was, because we're hearing it was at his residence. So at a private pool, there's no such thing. There's no sense of urgency of needing to have a professional lifeguard on duty when you're just having your rest and relaxation. So this probably sends a clarion call. And as you mentioned, it's not the first time it's happened to a celebrity. I think a couple of years ago we had a similar incident with the drowning of the child of another singer, and in similar circumstances. So I think it should serve as a warning to all the rest of us that we need to be more vigilant in the oversight of our children.
All right, may so rest in peace. But let's move
Amen.
on to other stories. And of course, the federal government yesterday said that the security situation in the country was not that dear to warrant the travel advisory issued by United States and United Kingdom government, as well as other foreign missions. I mean, we received the US and UK warning that there's a terror alert in Abuja. But what do you think about these statements coming from the federal government?
Well, I look at it from the standpoint, before we look at what the federal government said, let's look at what the action itself was. And you look at the preemptive steps that those countries took. And you say, now these are countries who are patriotic and who care about their citizens to the point that at the very slightest possibility of anything untoward or any violence or anything, they take steps to protect their citizens. The notice, the advisory that was given was actually given to the workers of the American embassy, the workers of the UK embassy. It wasn't general public knowledge for the Nigerian populace in general. Those countries felt like there was a credible terror threat that could negatively impact their workers. Now remember, a good number of their workers are Nigerians as well. It's not only foreigners, but they felt they're responsible for everybody that is working for them, and they want to keep them safe and protect them. Now, we know that the US has high intelligence capabilities. They have listening devices, they have satellites that are seeing the entire corner of the earth. They listen to chatter both on the internet. And so for them to have issued this warning, clearly there was a substantive and credible threat. Now, the fact that nothing happened eventually, I think, is a credit to our own security forces, because I think for the US and UK and all these other countries to have taken that step, something was about to happen. But our own security forces were proactive and they nipped it in the bud before it happened. That's why it didn't happen. But I think that it's not proper security and intelligence protocol for our DSS, our SSS, our NSA to start talking in public. For example, that maybe there was a public place that was going to be bombed or something to that effect. Whatever they did underground to protect whatever infrastructure, whatever facilities were under threat. And I think they did it properly, because I don't think the US or the UK would have gone to that extreme step of telling their staffers to leave, if not for the fact that it was credible. And the fact that it never now came to pass tells me that the Nigerian security apparatus did its job, did it well. If you listen to the press conference, after the president had a security briefing yesterday, before he left the country, the National Security Advisor and the Chief of Defense Staff had a press conference. And it was at that press conference that they were saying, oh, we think this is an overreaction by the foreign ministries, that it was never a serious, credible threat to that extent. But I think what they didn't tell us was the fact that they took steps to forestall anything bad from actually happening within the confines of the country. And if you look now, things have started going back to normal. British Airways has started flying again, which they cancelled their Abuja flights. Jabi Mall in Abuja, which was closed, has been reopened. School students have gone back to school. So whatever the threat was, it's been forestalled, and I think the credit should go to our security personnel. They're not happy because, you see, that advisory given by the embassies was an internal document. It was not for public dissemination, but social media these days are out of proportion. What happened was, it got escalated because of the public leaking of an internal memo. These kind of threats occur every day, but we don't get to hear about them because our security forces are sorting those things out underground the way they should be sorting them out. So we don't get to know. So what our government is upset about is that why did those embassies allow the information to be leaked and create public panic, which is the problem. because it hampers the ability for counter-terrorism when the public is all panicky about, oh, this every single day we're under threat. Don't kid yourself. Every day there are credible terrorism threats, but we don't get to hear about most of them because it is kept within the confines of the security apparatus and it is dealt with before it comes to the surface.
Now, the vehicular operation, the security office commenced, commenced Operation Stop and Search in Abuja in order to checkmate the security situation in FCT. Is this part of what we are calling this? Should we say this is actually one of the right ways to go about it?
Well, I'm sure, even though some people are complaining it's a violation of their civil rights, but civil rights only go but so far. And when it comes to protecting the citizenry, sometimes you have to overlook civil rights. If there's a belief that Abuja is under siege, then the security apparatus have to take the proper steps. Now, if you are stopping and searching suspicious moving vehicles, what that does is that it has the ability to terroristic activity. They have to move their armaments, their machinery, their armory, their bullets, whatever. They have to move them some kind of way. So if they know that the soldiers and the police are stopping cars and checking, it intimidates them from being able to carry out their operations. So it's a preemptive strike in a way to kind of scupper some of the activities of potential terrorists, and I don't see anything wrong with it.
President Muhammadu Buhari has traveled again, and it's like, at least he has spent at least 212 days abroad for medical checkups since he assumed the office in 2015. Nigerians are talking, of course, we will surely see them on social media. But what do you think about this, him traveling for medical checkup again?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard that was, I hope he's treated by one of the Nigerian doctors who have Jack Paris.
Oh, right.
Yes, because we have the numbers are in the thousands, 40-something thousand doctors have gone to the UK in the last 1 year. So I said, what are the chances that he'll get treated by one of our Nigerian doctors who have run away to the UK? But yeah, it's a big indictment, both the fact that our doctors are running away and the fact that our politicians are having to go overseas. We've talked about this so many times, that medical tourism. I can't point to one single brand new hospital that has been built in the last, world class, that has been built in the last 7 years by the government. We've seen some private hospitals being built, without a doubt, that are world class, but in terms of government. So what does this administration have to beat its chest about in terms of the fact that, I think it's a shame, really, it's quite embarrassing that at this stage of our evolution and development, our political leaders still have to run to other countries and the countries they are running to, those countries are seeking our own medical professionals to come and run their medical facilities. So look at the irony that the UK is trying to attract Nigerian doctors because it knows we are competent, we are capable, we are the best minds medically. So they are looking for our people because that is a tremendous asset. And now we are squandering that asset to the benefit of the UK, and now we are now running to the UK to now go and take advantage of our own asset that the UK has attracted away. So it's a shame, really, because at the end of the day, we've got what it takes. It's just the political will, is the conviction, the desire to invest the resources. I remember that when President Buhari was campaigning in 2015 to come into office, one of the things he said was that, why should I have to go abroad to seek medical treatment when we have the capabilities here? And look, here we are.
I immediately assumed after the travel days.
7 years later, and we're still where we are. So it's really an indictment, and let's hope the new government in 2023, whoever it is, pays more attention to the medical sector.
Still talking about Buhari, the federal government said Buhari's administration has liberated more Nigerians from poverty and is still on its track to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty by the end of his administration in 2023. Do you agree with his statement?
Well, that looks like a tough road to hoe to me. I don't know. It's me and you and everybody else who knows where the shoe is pinching.
Yes.
So in the cloistered halls of Aso Rock, it may look to those who are out of touch with the common man, it may look to them that on paper, theory is very easy to propound. So it may look to them on paper that we've put in steps in place that are supposed to have elevated people out of poverty. But when you get onto the street and you talk to the man in the street, me, you, him, her, and you ask them, are you better off today than you were 7 years ago? Do you have more money in your pocket? Are you more comfortable? Is your quality of life improved? All the indices, education, healthcare, infant mortality, life expectancy, all the things we use to measure quality of life, has yours improved? Your eating habits, your 3 meals, square meals a day, are you able to afford them better today than... The average man in the street is probably looking at that statement yesterday and shaking his head that, boy, how out of touch are you with reality? Because when you talk to the average man in the street, and I'm not even talking about just the cities, because we have a tendency to think that the urban centers is all of Nigeria. Meanwhile, the urban centers, your Lagos, your Abuja, your Port Harcourt, your big cities, they are an infinitesimal proportion of our entire population. By the time you go to the rural areas where real Nigeria is, you will see poverty, and that poverty is grinding and is getting worse by the day. So I heard someone saying, well, what do you expect any administration to say? They'll trumpet, they will say they've done well even. And then I looked at it and said, well, Ghana yesterday, their president said, we are in crisis, we haven't done well. So if Ghana's president can admit that they have failed, or that there are shortcomings in some of the things they've tried to do, what stops any other government from being honest and admitting that, okay, maybe we tried. Maybe that's what... And if you read,
this is Nigeria.
This is Nigeria. But if you read that statement, it says we are on track to get it completed by the time we leave office. So they're not saying they've done it yet. They're saying we're working on it. So they've left the door open to be able to say we didn't achieve it. Yeah.
But of course, I think I need to ask you, have you gone to the market recently? Because we have to talk about the inflation and the fact that people are complaining about how much they are purchasing a bag of rice.
Yeah, I bought one last week, 46,000 naira. I did. I actually did. Went in and priced it and bought it and carried it and put it in the boot of my car. I got 46,000 naira. And the funny thing to me was not just the price, but the fact that by the time we got it home and took it out, it had settled to where 1/4, the top quarter of the bag is just air, because the rice has settled.
Yeah.
So you might be getting the weight, but you're not getting the actual quantity because the top quarter of the bag is empty. So without a doubt, as soon as we bought the rice, we also stopped and we bought pepper, we bought onions, we bought tomatoes, we bought all the rest of the stuff that you use to sustain life. And I tell you, the amount we took to the market, what we came back with was less than half of what that same amount bought 1 month ago. So inflation is real and it's biting, and it's affecting disposable income because we're getting less for what we have, and salaries are not increasing. Well, Lagos State government promised to increase the salaries of its civil servants, so maybe they'll be able to cope. But for the rest of us, our salaries are not increasing. So we have the same amount of money and it's buying less. How does it equate? How does it compute? It means we are living a deficit life, because it means simply that the money we have cannot meet the requirements we have. So there's a shortfall. How do we meet up for that shortfall? We don't have the kind of social welfare. Well, this administration tried to do some social welfare intervention programs, but by and large, they were emergency bailouts, COVID problems, farm supports, conditional cash transfer. They were emergency. They're not the kind of unemployment benefits or the kind of extensive safety nets that can pull people out of poverty like that. So inflation is real. It's hurting. It's biting, and hopefully we can all get out of this problem very quickly.
Yes, we hope so. Lastly, let's look at this one. The federal government has concluded plan to sell 50 gas flaring clusters in the Niger Delta under the Nigerian gas flare commercialization program, thus generating $1 billion as revenue. What do you think about this?
Beautiful. It's beautiful on a number of reasons. For a number of reasons. First of all, Nigeria is a gas-bearing country that has small oil. Gas is our real mainstay. That's our main resource. And we've not tapped into its potential for many years. And of course, gas and oil go hand in hand. So every time they are drilling for oil and they're bringing the oil up, it emits gas. And all this time, they've not been able to harness that gas and convert it into commercially usable chemical. So they've been having to flare it. And the flaring, first of all, causes environmental degradation. I've heard there's a satellite picture that shows Nigeria from outer space, and you can see one massive cloud above the entire Nigerian area. That is an agglomeration of generator fumes, gas flaring fumes, greenhouse gases, all sorts of poisonous emissions are in our atmosphere and are killing us slowly, and we don't know. So gas flaring has been a major part of this. And the problem with gas flaring, of course, apart from the environmental implications, is the fact that it's wasting potential revenue. So what the government has said they're doing now is to be able to capture that gas that they've had to burn off and waste away. They're going to capture it. NLNG, Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas, is going to capture it, harness it, and convert it into sellable gas. Sellable gas that you can use to power electricity plants, gas that you can use to run vehicles and all those kind of things, to where gas that we can export for sale. So it's a win-win on both sides, and this should have been a long time ago, and kudos to this government. I hope they can get it done. Those 50 glass clusters, they're going to, I think, sell them off, maybe privatize them, and those who get the concession will now begin to commercialize that gas. So it will eliminate flaring, which is beautiful for the environment. It will also now generate revenue, which the government badly needs. Maybe eventually we can now reduce our borrowings and have more to spend on infrastructure and social services.
I think Nigerians will really be happy because, we hear the rumors every day. Even the unborn children, they are owing money if you just look at their pocket.
Yes.
All right, let's end this with Mr. and Mrs. And the first person speaking today is Mr. It says, you chose that curtain out of all the curtains in the world. You're always choosing wrong things. And Mrs. replied, but I chose you out of all the men in the world.
Ooh.
This is a soft blow.
Well, kudos to Mrs. She made one right choice.
Thank you, Mr. Dayakitobi, for joining us this morning.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and of course, it's the publisher of Vehicular today, Lekki today, Ikeja GRE today. He just reviewed and analyzed some of the stories on the front pages with us this morning. Now, to get more of our top stories, you can follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. My name is Davido Chiomas. Have a lovely day, and once again, welcome.